Nobody's surprised that Jack Smith spied on Republicans. Nobody's shocked at all. We all knew it was happening. What we're shocked about is that there's actually no evidence to back it up. We never thought there'd be evidence to back it up. What's up? This is Mark K. Saves the Republic. Thanks so much for being here today, man. What an exciting day. Before we get to that, listen, but we've got Pam Bondi on the Hill just ripping Democrats to shreds. We've got Jack Smith spying on Republican senators because they were allies of President Donald Trump. And again, we knew that was happening, but there's a little bit more to it. And then, of course, we've got the continued government shutdown because the Democrats continue to vote to keep the government shut down. They're still holding us hostage. They're still trying to get their way because they have no power, and they're trying to ignore the will of the people and the mandate they gave to President Donald Trump, and they're doing it by not paying our troops. So there's a lot to get to, but before we do any of that, I'd like to introduce to you a brand new ukulele band from Portland, Oregon, singing the Woody Guthrie hit. Or is it Arlo Guthrie? It's one of the Guthries. This land is your land.
This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Now I know what you're thinking. Mark K, why are you playing this monstrosity? And it's, first of all, I'm a big fan of the ukulele, as you can see by the multiple ukuleles I have hanging on my wall. I have banjo-leles. I've got multiple different sizes and styles of ukuleles. I have a couple 3-string cigar box guitar. That's neither here nor there. So I always enjoy a good ukulele tune. However, this is not what I would call a good ukulele tune. This is a bunch of old. Also, why is it always the old folks? Where do they get all these people? What old folks home teaches these people to play the ukulele and then allows them to just wander around on the street singing "This land is your land"?
This land is my land. From California to New York Island.
That's a little catchy.
From the Redwood Forest.
They're all looking. The guy's got the pork pie hat. And she's got, now there's also the one woman waving the Ukraine flag. So she's singing "This land is your land, this land is my land," while singing a Ukraine flag. I don't know if she knows, I don't know, because the title of this video is "Portland is not a military target." So I don't know, maybe she's at the wrong protest. I don't know.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California.
Oh, there's the Walkers and a guy in a rascal. That's always perfect.
New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Now again, I don't know. I mean, bravo. It's good. It's nice to see. It's nice to see people in the in the sunset of their life still being able to play musical instruments. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think these are paid protesters. That's the good news. I don't think those are Soros purchased ukuleles. I think those people probably, because they're not all the same. You can tell they have different shapes and sizes of ukulele. If it were George Soros funded this, each ukulele would be the exact same. But you can see there's like a blue one, and there's like a little one, and there's a brown one, and then someone's got a guitar. So you don't have that uniformity that you have with the Soros protest. In a Soros protest, everything is exactly the same because they're professionally printed and distributed. Everyone has the same gas mask. Everyone's throwing the same bricks. But that's what's going on. That's what's going on in Portland today. Oh, Zach Bryan. I don't know if you heard about this guy, Zach Bryan, by the way. Zach Bryan, I'd kind of heard of him. I'd kind of heard of him. He was like he's like a country artist, right? And I don't really know. I'll be honest, I don't listen to a lot of music anymore just because I don't have the time. But he's a country artist. He's like an up and coming country artist. And I guess he decided he was done with country music, or he was sick of being an up and coming country music artist, because he ostracized his fan base. He wrote a song that bashes ICE. Oh, let me see here. Let's see here. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. This is it. This is what we got here. This is from Variety. Zach Bryan's lyrics about ICE bashing Zach Bryan's lyrics about ICE bashing down your door, slammed by Homeland Security official. Stick to pink skies. No, and I guess Pink Skies is another Zach Bryan. It's another Zach Bryan song. MAGA proponents were quick to slam a snippet of a new, apparently anti-ICE song that Zach Bryan posted online Friday, with the Department of Homeland Security commenting that the country superstar should stick to pink skies, referencing his 2024 song featuring lyrics about hometown pride. The song snippet, which Bryan, a U.S. Navy veteran, posted with the comment, "The fading of the red, white, and blue," includes the lyric, "I heard the cops came, cocky mother fathers, ain't they? And ICE is gonna come bust down your door. Try to build a house, no bills, no more. Well, I got a telephone, kids are all scared and all alone." And he posted with the fading of the red, white, and blue. I'm not gonna play it because I think there is a wordy dird, and I didn't. Maybe. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I can skip to the part where the wordy dirt isn't.
Didn't wake up, dead or in jail. Some out of town boys been giving us hell. I got some bad news.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really my cup of tea. While it's possible that the context of the lyric might not be complete, and Bryan could be quoting something a character in the song says rather than making a statement reflecting his own views, his choice of lyrics to highlight is probably not accidental. A rep for the singer, who rarely speaks to the media and usually shares his opinions on social media, did not immediately respond to Variety's request for a comment. So the song snippet also includes references to middle fingers rising. And of course, there's that quizzical caption, "The fading of the red, white, and blue." Now, as you can imagine, the Dixie Chick references came fast and furious after this. There were a lot of people comparing him to Natalie Maines, who famously said, "George Bush is not my president," when she was over in London. And summarily, the Dixie Chicks just got destroyed. Their career was over. They got into a battle of words with Toby Keith, and then they had to change their name to just the Chicks, because the Dixie Chicks later on became offensive. But look, the good news is that Zach Bryan has a brand new backup band. Now, when ICE comes kicking down your door, you're not gonna worry no more, or whatever. I don't even know whatever it is. Try to build a house, no bills, no more. Our kids are all scared. That's the when he's in Portland, I guarantee he brings those people up on stage for a couple, sing songs, whatever. And look, and I don't know who's going to get into a fight with him, but it's probably going to be somebody. Oh, speaking of fighting, and the Democrats, look, it's amazing to me that you've got all these Democrats saying this land is my land, this land is your land, because they're the ones that actually don't like Republicans, don't want to share the land with the Republicans, and won't be happy until every Republican is beat up, bloody, or dead. And we know that because, well, Democrats have gone on a massive crime spree lately. And I'm not just talking about Portland, and I'm not just talking about Washington, D.C., and I'm not just talking about Chicago and L.A. I'm talking about, the crime spree that is trying to assassinate President Donald Trump while he was on the campaign trail in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then when that failed, trying to do it again on a golf course in Florida. And then when that failed, going after Charlie Kirk, which unfortunately was a successful assassination in Utah. And then not to mention all the other violent left-wing crime we've seen. Catholic Church, 2 kids dead in Minneapolis, all these horrible acts of violence by left-wing transgender lunatic liberals. But it doesn't stop with them. Richard Ojeda is running for Congress. He's a Democrat, by the way. And he's in North Carolina's 9th district. And he is not a big fan of Stephen Miller. So he did what any left-wing lunatic, radical, ridiculous, stupid Democrat would do. And he threatened Stephen Miller on the internet.
Miller needs to be thumped. Thanks, Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller needs to be thumped. That guy's a friggin' worm. I would be willing to go to jail for, how much would I get for just tracking him a couple times? I'd be willing to go to jail to kick the shit out of him. I'd be more than happy to find myself in an elevator with him, and I'd whoop his ass from the 1st floor to the 5th floor, and be happy to go to jail. Okay,
so that guy's running for Congress. I apologize for the word. I didn't know there was a word dirt in there. I listened to, you know what it is? There's so much foul language these days in all these clips and like the news and everywhere. Like everybody's cussing, and that sometimes I hear it and I forget. Like I don't realize I hear it, and I try to keep this show family friendly. So I apologize for that. But he said, look, I'd be willing to whoop his ass if I got on an elevator with Stephen Miller. I'd whoop his ass from the first floor to the 7th floor or the 5th floor, or whatever it was, and I'd be happy to go to jail. Well, that's good news, because when you threaten somebody like that, you know, odds are that's where you're headed. I don't know if you're going to be headed to the Capitol building with that guy. In North Carolina's 9th district, I'm not, let me Google it real quick because I want to make sure. 9th district. I'm familiar. I mean, I'm from North Carolina, and North Carolina's 9th congressional district, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it covers Greensboro, North Carolina, and part of, let's see, what is it? It's Greensboro, North Carolina, Siler City, part of Liberty. Oh, it's right to the, okay, it's not even Greensboro. It's like it's more Rayford, Ashboro kind of area, and Randleman County. This is about as red as it gets. There's no way this guy is going to be elected to Congress. Maybe that's why he's taking this opportunity to go viral by attacking Stephen Miller. He's not the only one that's attacking Stephen Miller. CNN is, you know, when you work for something like CNN and you try to pick a fight with somebody like Stephen Miller, you probably should know the facts. You should probably get the facts straight beforehand. Otherwise, you're just going to get it handed to you by the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. And that's exactly what happened to this guy. I forget his name. He's the bald guy with the beard. He's got like he and Stephen Miller, they have the same haircut. And he was trying to accuse Stephen Miller of using, you know, tactics in Portland and in Chicago that were illegal or that were out of the realm of Donald Trump's purview or that were just bad. And Stephen Miller, I mean, every time this guy came up with something, Stephen Miller just let him have it.
So if a Democratic president someday calls the National Guard to a red state over what they see as open rebellion, but is what amounts to a demonstration that gets rowdy. I mean, is that not a fear?
And they're posting pictures of their kids because it's a demonstration, and they have a sniper on top of a building firing a high-caliber rifle at a nice facility because it's a demonstration, and they are engaged in vehicle ramming.
But the National Guard isn't being sent to Texas.
Because it's a
the National Guard
demonstration.
isn't being sent to Dallas, where that sniper was.
Because the Dallas Police Department and the governor of Texas, well, you walked right into that one, have responded to every call for assistance and help. They gave a stand-down order in Chicago, and they gave a stand-down order in Portland. Do you realize that there's 11,000 federal law enforcement officers in Oregon? That's larger than the size of the FBI. Local and state police are resourced to deal with this kind of riotous assembly, but they have refused. They've been given a stand-down order. So
they've arrested
we need
some
to use
70
National
people
Guard
since
and federal
June.
Troops
They've been
to
arresting
fill in
folks
that
on the
breach.
ground. They've been arresting folks on the ground. They refute what you're saying outright.
We literally have the 911 audio of the stand-down order in Chicago, and we have documented inside of DHS every single unresponded to 911 call over the recent weeks and months.
Yeah, and there's tons of, there's more every single day. Listen, this is when CNN, they try to make a point and they just set up Stephen Miller for the rest of it. He goes, look, yeah, it's not a demonstration. And that's the new verbiage. That's the new talking point that the Democrats have come up with. Donald Trump is sending in the National Guard and he's sending in the military and he's federalizing all these agents and he's attacking people and arresting people. And now it's not just the illegal immigrants, because they basically lost that battle, right? ICE is going in and they're deporting people that shouldn't be here. ICE is going in, they're finding the criminals, they're rooting them out, they're sending them to CCOT, all those things. But now they're like, well, what new messaging can we get? All right, Donald Trump is trying to arrest peaceful protesters, and that's not at all the case. And Stephen Miller says this is not a demonstration. This is not a demonstration. When you dox the children of ICE agents online and put a bounty on their head, you've gone past the First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. That's no longer a peaceable assembly or a peaceful assembly. That is now a terror tactic. That is now a threat against children. And we know that the Democrats are fine with threatening children because of what John Jay in Virginia said, but that's a story for another day. Then he goes, when you bring a sniper rifle or you put a sniper with a high caliber rifle on the roof and you have them shoot into ICE vans and kill detainees, that is no longer an assembly. And the guy goes, wow, why aren't you sending the National Guard to Texas? And Stephen Miller goes, because the governor of Texas is taking care of business. And in Texas, we know that the ICE agents are going to be given every resource that they need, and the ICE agents are going to be given every piece of assistance from the federal or from the state government. Same with Florida, same with Alabama, same with various different states around the country, but not Oregon and not Illinois. Those states are siding with the criminals. They're siding not with the demonstrators, but with the criminal element that is being paid most of the time, or in most part, by professional agitators. For example, what's his name? George Soros, who, by the way, Donald Trump is looking to investigate with the Department of Justice. And the shutdown, by the way, continues now into day, what are we on, 7? There was a vote yesterday and the vote failed. And we knew the vote was going to fail because the Senate, they don't want the shutdown to end. They don't want the shutdown. They don't want the government to reopen because Senator Schumer, he feels like he's got an election to win in 2 years, 3 years, and he doesn't want AOC primarying him.
Let me talk about the shutdown here real quick. And I promised you just 5 fast facts, 5 key facts, okay? I'm going to start with Leader Schumer's record because he is leading the opposition and he is the one telling the Democrats to keep the government shut down. Chuck Schumer has been in Congress for 44 years. He was first elected to the House in 1981. Just for reference, I was 9 years old. I was in the 3rd grade when Chuck Schumer came here to Congress. Throughout his entire career, he has been very, very consistent about the necessity of keeping the government open until just now. In fact, I want to read to you an excerpt from 7 months ago, his floor speech on March 13th, 2025. This is Senator Chuck Schumer in March of this year. Quote, on the Senate floor, while the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms of the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down, unquote. Now, what was Chuck Schumer talking about? The exact same bill that is on the floor today. That's what he himself said. And he did vote to keep the government open. And then, during an interview with Jake Tapper on CNN following that vote, on March 14th of this year, he said, quote, I'm proud I did it. I know I did the right thing, unquote. That is Chuck Schumer himself. Today's the exact same scenario. It is the exact same vote. It is the exact same spending levels. And he has no reason whatsoever to do anything different.
By the way, it's end quote, not end, but that's neither here nor there. I love that he goes, I love that Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson goes, man, when Chuck Schumer got here, I was in the 3rd grade. He looks like he's still in the 3rd grade though sometimes. If it weren't for the little bit of gray he has on the side, I'd still think that guy could be in the 3rd grade. But he's saying, look, Chuck Schumer, he's been here forever. Maybe it's time for him to go because now what he's doing is he's kowtowing to the worst part of his party. And he's kowtowing to the worst part of his party because he knows that he is politically, he is basically done for if AOC decides that she wants to move into the Senate. Which why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she move into the Senate? There's way more power there, and she looks like she's primed and ready to be the Senate Majority Leader when Chuck Schumer gets destroyed. Look, I mean, it's Donald Trump was asked about the shutdown a couple times. He was on Greg Kelly yesterday, and he was asked about whether or not we're getting any headway.
The Schumer shutdown, are you making progress? What do you expect? I heard the experts say it should be over this week.
Well, I guess we're making progress. You know, look, they should have never shut it down. We have the best economy in the world right now. Nobody's even close, and they shouldn't have done it. But they're out of control. They're controlled by the radical left people, and it's just so ridiculous. So, yeah, I guess we're making progress. A lot of people want to get it done. You know, they want to spend their money on open borders. They want to spend their money on all the things that you don't want to spend money on. And you know, what they've done with healthcare is a disaster. What they've done with healthcare is just an absolute disaster, the way they waste money. So it's just one of those things. But I guess the answer is, I think it's moving in that direction.
So Donald Trump saying, look, it's a disaster what they've done with healthcare, but I think maybe we're moving in the direction where we're going to do something. It looks like we're maybe moving in the direction where we could open up the government. Now, hopefully that doesn't mean the Republicans are giving in on healthcare. but maybe they're coming to some agreement where they will agree to discuss something so that they can get the government open, and that would give the Democrats breathing room, or at least ducking, some kind of cover with their constituents. Who knows? But what we do know is that yesterday there was a vote to open the government, and it failed. And Donald Trump said if there was another vote to open up the government, then you know what? And it failed, then we would start the process of eliminating jobs and eliminating departments and cutting government funding and laying off employees. I don't know if that's happened yet, but I sure hope it does, because I feel like maximum pressure on the Democrats is what we need. Now, there was some very disturbing yet unsurprising breaking news yesterday.
Fox News alert. Fox Digital exclusively reporting moments ago the FBI says former special counsel Jack Smith tracked private communications and calls of nearly a dozen Republican senators. This during the January 6th investigation. Joining us here in Dallas, retired U.S. Army veteran and current Texas Congressman Wesley Hunt. Congressman, thanks for being with us here today. This news is breaking as we speak. Yes. This investigation was called Arctic Fox. This was designed to look into January 6th, and this is pretty stunning. We, of course, knew about the way that the Justice Department under Joe Biden was looking into President Trump. Yes. Now we find out a dozen Republican senators. Your thoughts?
This is the weaponization of the United States government against senators. And let me tell you something, our job is to protect this country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And last I checked, every Republican senator does not fit that mold. And so keep in mind, if but not for President Trump getting reelected, we would have never known any of this. And that's how consequential this last election was.
And that's a good point. We wouldn't have known any of this. We wouldn't have had all this information. We wouldn't have known what was going on. These FBI files would never have been unclassified or released by Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. And Chuck Grassley, by the way, he posted online the Federal Bureau of Investigation electronic communication. This is from 9/27/2023. FBI Special Agent Blank conducted preliminary toll analysis on limited tolls records associated with the following U.S. senators: Mike Kelly, Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Loomis, Marsha Blackburn. We knew this was going on, but now we know what's going on. We knew that he was doing this, but now we really know that he was doing this. And while some people may be surprised, others are not, like Eric Trump.
I told the FBI this day one. Come on, come down to the basement of Trump Tower, see if we have any secret servers. There was none. Yet they let that lie perpetuate for a 3-year period of time. So one greedy person at first could get a couple extra votes. That was Hillary Clinton, right? And then when she was beaten so bad by a bunch of people, including myself, that didn't know what a damn delegate was, didn't know what the Iowa caucuses were, because that was never the world that we were in, it allowed her to save a little face, saying that there was some foreign actor who otherwise intervened, which is the only reason she lost. It was a sham, and the entire world knows it was a sham, and there's been no consequences. There's no consequences when she deleted 33,000 emails. There's no consequences when... I mean, these are the biggest criminals in the world. Back to Jack Smith, he was planting classified folders on my father's office at Mar-a-Lago. They took his medical records. They took his legal documents, protected by attorney-client privilege. They took everything. They broke every single law in their attempt to try and destroy the man's life, and they lost. And they lost in an embarrassing fashion, and I could not be more proud.
Yeah, and that is, they lost in an embarrassing fashion, and I could not be more proud. But here's Eric Trump with the, I told you so. This is something, imagine the I mean, it's got to be a little bit of anger still too, but imagine the relief now that you're saying everything that you said I was crazy for saying is now coming out. Everybody who denied or didn't want to believe it or was trying to give Jack Smith the benefit of the doubt or just said, no, Joe Biden would never do this. The government has been weaponized against anybody. Well, now all those conspiracy theorists again are saying, yeah, we knew this. We told you it's happening. And Chuck Grassley he called a press conference to say, by the way, it all happened just like they said.
Solicitation of these telephone records, which I think emphasizes the political weaponization that was behind all this effort. And we're still getting more information But we've released some records today, and I'll let Senator Johnson take over from here, and then each one of you colleagues can join in when you want to.
All right, so I'm going to let Ron Johnson come in, and then you all can take over when you want to. That's Chuck. He's so Chuck Grassley. He's so Midwest, isn't he? He's great. But you know, he's got Ron Johnson there. He's got Bill Haggerty from Tennessee. He's got them all there. Marsha Blackburn's hanging out in the background. Now she's going to go be governor of Tennessee, so she doesn't care that much anymore. But still, it's a violation. It's a violation of law. It's a violation of your duty. It's a violation of political sanctity. It's a violation of everything. And this is why, by the way, Adam Schiff. Do you remember Adam Schiff? Senator Adam Schiff from California. Do you remember in Pam Bondi's hearing when they were in her confirmation hearing? He was so hell bent on getting her to admit that she was not going to go after Jack Smith. Do you remember that? He was like, "Are you going to go after Jack Smith? You're not going." Donald Trump has said that Jack Smith is going to go to jail. Is that something you're going to be doing?
The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail. Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without, you're a long practicing attorney, without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith, is that right?
Not a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
And not a summary by the president either, right?
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith. Is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case.
And sitting here, sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have
have
7
lost
minutes.
faith
Sitting
in the
here,
Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes or no?
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question.
Brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us,
I'm
are you
sitting here as
aware?
a nominee.
Just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news is
Are you aware of
horrible.
a?
Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not looked
You seem reluctant to answer a simple question. Let me ask you a different simple question.
Yeah, no, we get it. We get it. He asked that question like 19 times in 5 different ways because he wants to make sure that she was not going to go after Jack Smith. Do you have any information? Do you have any documentation? Is there any reason you would go after Jack Smith? And she says, I'd have to look at the file. Well, guess what? Here's the file. And now it appears we have some information that could maybe lead to Jack Smith being guilty of weaponizing the government and wiretapping or recording the various different devices of some certain senators. And that is clearly overreach. That is clearly weaponization of the government. That is clearly exactly what Adam Schiff knew. Well, I mean, Adam Schiff knew what was going on. He just didn't want anyone else to know it was going on. By the way, CNN does not believe this is overreach. Jeffrey Toobin, who whipped it out on a Zoom call and started, shaking hands with the governor, let's just say, in front of his colleagues and still retains his position at CNN. I mean, come on. How bad is it that CNN couldn't find anybody reputable to work for them? So they had to get like the master baiter, I guess you would call him, back on their payroll. He's saying, no, this is an overreach.
Jeffrey, I wonder what you make of this. I mean, was it an overreach on Jack Smith's part?
Well, not only wasn't it an overreach, it's not even news. Jack Smith cites these conversations in his report. So this is not like he was trying to keep this a secret. And remember what Jack Smith was investigating. He was investigating Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the election through the use of fake electors in Congress. He was lobbying members of Congress to do just that. That was evidence in the case. So it is, of course, appropriate for him to investigate the time and nature, or at least the time and the duration of calls with members of Congress. It's a complete non-story, except that Jack Smith was doing his job.
I just wonder also why.
By the way, how do you look at this guy and not think you were spanking it on a Zoom call? Like, how does she do that? She's sitting there and she's talking to him and she's listening to him. And I guess she has to take him seriously. And all I can think is this guy spanked it on a Zoom call. Why are we listening to his? Why are we listening to his opinion? And he went back to work. I just don't get. I've never done that, but I can't imagine it would end well for. Can't imagine I would ever get my. I mean, I got fired for way less than that for just being conservative and entertaining. This guy's like, I just don't. Anyway, I don't know how you have a serious conversation with this guy, but he's saying, look, it is clearly not overreach. It's in the purview of his investigation. He's investigating Donald Trump using Congress for fake electors. So of course he's going to spy on Congress people. That's just Jack Smith doing his job. I'm sorry, I don't remember Jack Smith as special prosecutor. I don't remember his job being to investigate Marsha Blackburn's cell phone. I don't remember his job to be investigating Bill Hagerty or any of those other senators. I don't remember any of that. In fact, Bill Hagerty had some things to say about it.
Senator Hagerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership.
By the way, I bet Ron Johnson is Jeffrey Toobin's favorite senator. Thank you. Jeffrey Toobin, if you had to spy on any senator, who would it be? Oh, Senator Johnson. I want to know what senator. They're intimately like, what was I doing? Oh yeah, Bill Hagerty from Tennessee. Here we go.
Senator Hagerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this. I served on the Trump transition team in Trump Tower in 2016. Senator Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were surveilled by the Obama FBI. This corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans. They've decided to come after us. This is as partisan as it gets. The FBI and the corruption that's running there has to be cleared out. Thank God we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino there. This has to be addressed. It has to be resolved. It needs to happen today.
There you go. So that's Senator Hagerty saying, look, I can't believe, I mean, he can believe it because he knows it, but he's like, this is happening over and over again. The FBI under Joe Biden was investigating sitting senators. And the only thing, and he brings up a great point. Look at this list. Here's a list. Let's see. Well, let's look at the senators they were looking into. Mike Kelly, Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Loomis, and Marsha Blackburn. What do they all have in common? They're all Republicans. That's about it. That's about it. That's all they have in common is they're all Republicans. And so clearly this was a plot to attack or to investigate or to intimidate or to corner or to weaponize the government against Republicans. They all also happen to be staunch allies of President Donald Trump. They all happen to be from red states. So it is really interesting. It is really interesting. Now, John Kennedy from Louisiana, he demands a hearing. In fact, Pam Bondi's up on the Hill. Pam Bondi, man, she do not mess with Pam Bondi today. She is not having it. She is not having it. She's been going after everybody. Listen to this. This was her. She's been asked questions about all kinds of things, and she went off on Senator Klobuchar from Minneapolis or from Minnesota.
Senator Klobuchar, I'm not going to discuss personnel decisions, but the personnel issue that I'm having right now is that all of my agents, all of my lawyers are working. My agents are on the street working without a paycheck because your party voted to shut down the federal government.
Yeah, and Amy Klobuchar just purses her lips. Oh boy, here we go again. And that's this. She's taking the opportunity to say, "Look, I'm not going to sit here and be lectured by you people who weaponize the government not just against senators and Congress people and the president, but now you're weaponizing it against the United States of America and her citizens. You are using your power to keep the government shut down. You're punishing people because of what you want, not what they want, what you want." And oh man, then Senator Blumenthal went after her, and she just was not having that at all.
I do have a question. In the merger that took place,
which merger? You've listed many.
Involving American Express GBT. I understand that Brian Ballard longtime backer and head of the law firm where you worked, was instrumental in lobbying the Justice Department to drop that lawsuit. It was dismissed, so it's not subject to a court review. What conversations did you have with Mr. Ballard?
Senator Blumenthal, I cannot believe that you would accuse me of impropriety when you lied about your military service.
I am
you
not
lied.
asking
You admitted you
I am
lied
not
to be
accusing you
elected
of
a U.S. senator.
impropriety.
You
I'm asking
lied.
you
How
about
dare you? I'm a
conversations
career prosecutor.
with Mr.
Don't you
Ballard.
ever challenge my integrity.
had
I have
apparently-
abided by every ethics standard. Do not question my ability to be fair and impartial as Attorney General, and anything
You'll
with
answer that
my
question to
former
another of my
firm,
colleagues.
Ballard Partners.
Thank you.
Yeah, look at that. She's like, wait a minute. Whoa. I have been nothing but ethical. Do not accuse me of impropriety. You lied about military service to get elected. And Bloom, it sounds like she has a little bit of a cold. Maybe she's feeling under the weather. So she's not taking it. You know, like when you get a little sick or you feel like a cold coming on, or maybe it's allergies, whatever, and you're just not in the mood. You're just not in the mood, and you're like, I have zero, what's left to give. That's Pam Bondi today. And she did it to Dick Durbin too.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, let me ask you this question. Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
I've been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place. Let me ask you another question. I want to, if you will, hold on a second.
Oh yeah, hold on. I'm telling you, she got no room for BS today. She's there, no room for BS. Her BS, container full. She's not taking it. She's not taking it from Dick Durbin. She's not taking it from Amy Klobuchar. She's definitely not taking it from Senator Blumenthal, who lied about his military service. She wasn't done either. Dick Durbin had more questions about military, and she was like, dude, this genie is not going back in the bottle, sir.
The National Guard is on the way right now as we speak. Oh, by the way, so is Director Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. You're sitting here grilling me, and they're on their way to Chicago to keep your state safe.
Madam Attorney General, it's my job to grill you.
Yeah, it's your job. It's my job to grill you. And it's her job to make sure that the FBI and the DOJ and the National Guard are doing what they need to do to make sure that Americans are safe. And you can tell why she's so annoyed. He's from Chicago. He's from Illinois. He's a senator from Illinois, and he's letting Illinois burn to the ground. He's letting his constituents shoot each other. Bang, bang, bang. That's Chicago. That's what's going on there every single day. 55 shooting. What was in the last couple of months? 55 murders. Hundreds of people that have been assaulted and injured as a result. And what did Governor Pritzker and what did Mayor Johnson and what did Dick Durbin do? They attack President Donald Trump. They attack his administration. They attack his administrators who are trying to keep the peace in Chicago. They're attacking the National Guard. They're attacking ICE. They're grilling Pam Bondi, and she's just done with it. Anyway, so back to Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. This dude is like, look, you know what? I think we need a special hearing.
Okay, if civil suits are filed against the perpetrators at the FBI, will that facilitate your investigation?
Well, what's the question again?
If the 8 senators who were spied upon sue the hell out of the Department of Justice and the perpetrators involved, will that facilitate their investigation and or yours? I guess what I'm getting to is I don't understand why we don't have a separate hearing. I find this breathtaking.
Yeah. It's just been 24 hours since the FBI investigated on it. Please give me an opportunity to sort through all this.
Fair enough. I just don't want to wait 24 years to get an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't think a lot of you guys on that panel have 20. Yeah, you don't want to wait 24 years for sure, because that room's going to look a lot different in 24 years. And Josh Hawley, who again was one of, let's double check, shall we? I just want to double the cross-reference left. Hawley, there he is. 4th from the top. Josh Hawley, who is on the list, he's demanding a special prosecutor. He wants even more. He's like, we need a special prosecutor. We need a special prosecutor to investigate the special prosecutor. We need it's like special prosecutor. What was that movie with Leo DiCaprio where there was insemination? No, it wasn't insurrection. No, what was that thing called? Insuspicion, interrogation. You know the thing. Whatever that movie was called, that's Inception. We need special. I guess insemination was close, but it's close. Oh, insemination was what Jeffrey Toobin was trying to do on that Zoom call. That's what that was. What a horrible show today. What a disgusting show this has turned out to be. I apologize that I've devolved into the lowest form of masculinity. But that's what happens when you're talking about the Senate. That's what happens when you're talking about Jack Smith. That's what happens when you're talking about Democrats and what they've been doing for the past several. Anyway, here's Josh Hawley saying we need a special prosecutor to investigate the special prosecutor. I want special prosecutor inception
to happen. Madam Attorney General, I think we need a special prosecutor to be appointed whose sole responsibility will be to get to the bottom of what has happened in every instance that I have just named. I think we need to know exactly who approved the wiretaps on United States senators, who knew about it, what agents were involved at DOJ or the FBI. I think we need to know exactly who signed off on the Catholic memo, the spying memo. Who was involved with it? How far did it go? I think we need to know exactly who authorized the prosecution of Mark Houck, who terrorized pro-lifers and tried to intimidate them. I think we need to know that, Mr. Chairman, this committee needs to do oversight hearings. We need to have thorough hearings into what has happened these last 4 years and this abuse that has now just been uncovered, because we have to ensure that it stops. As you just said, Attorney General Bondi, we have to ensure that it stops. This chapter in American history needs to come to a close, never to be opened again. The use of the most powerful law enforcement bodies in the world against ordinary citizens and political opponents must end once and for all. And we have a chance to do it, and it needs to be done with a thorough investigation, full transparency. And those who violated laws need to be prosecuted. I thank you for what you're doing, Attorney General Bondi. I hope that you will launch a thorough investigation. I hope you'll appoint a special prosecutor. Mr. Chairman, I hope we'll hold hearings. And with that, I yield.
Yeah. Before I call on Blumenthal, I want to, without objection, introduce into the record.
Yeah. Anyway, before I call on Blumenthal, I want to introduce into the record. I love Chuck Grassley's accent. I don't know what it is. It just makes me happy. He sounds like you know what it is? He sounds like George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. Why, in the grand scheme of things, Mr. Potter, you're nothing but a scurvy little spider. I don't know if they're from the same small town in Iowa, but maybe they are. Maybe that's why they sound. Or go Merry Christmas, you old building and loan. Before I call on Blumenthal, I want to introduce into the record. It's very similar. Because you're going to hear it now when you watch, because Christmas is only like 80 days away. You're going to hear it now when you watch It's a Wonderful Life. All you're going to hear is Chuck Grassley. You're going to go, darn it, Mark K. Now I'm trying to watch George Bailey. Clarence! And all I hear is Chuck Grassley. Which what is happening there? Where were we? I don't even remember what I was talking about. I was talking about something about Pam Bondi, something about the Democrats weaponizing government against the Republicans, something against all those. Yeah, I guess we basically come back full circle. But look, I mean, the fact of the matter is that President Donald Trump and his entire administration, and not only that, but people that were close associates of his and allies of his in the Republican Party were spied upon. And we haven't even gotten to the House of Representatives. This is just the Senate. I imagine there's a whole slew of members of the House of Representatives. How about Marjorie Taylor Greene? Do you not remember there was when Donald Trump was out of power, when Joe Biden was the president, there was a vote on an immigration bill on the floor of the House, and it got defeated. And Donald Trump, they said, everyone was blaming Donald Trump. Donald Trump wasn't president. Donald Trump was a candidate for president. He wasn't there. He wasn't in Washington, D.C. He was at Mar-a-Lago, but he was calling people and he was texting people, and he got the border bill overruled. He got it voted down. And the Democrats were furious that Donald Trump held this kind of political power while he wasn't in office. And one of the scenes that was going around was Marjorie Taylor Greene waving her phone around, handing it to people. And and it happened again too. You know what else had happened? It happened during the vote for when they ousted Kevin McCarthy and they were trying to vote on a Speaker of the House. Marjorie Taylor Greene was running. Everyone could see it said DJT on her phone. I imagine there's an FBI file that Joe Biden started on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I imagine Marjorie Taylor Greene probably was the subject of some kind of FBI investigation or some kind of internal bugging of her phone or her records or her email. I'm sure you had some kind. I mean, there had to have been a stakeout of Marjorie Taylor Greene's house by some FBI agents because she was one of Donald Trump's staunchest supporters on Capitol Hill. Matt Gaetz, come on. Not only did everybody in the FBI at the time and Joe Biden's administration hate Matt Gaetz, but the Republicans did too. They probably would have welcomed it. There's tons of people in the House of Representatives, I'm sure it's going to come out, also had similar situations befall them. You know what I'd like to see? Here's what I really wish we should. If anybody in the Senate is listening, and probably... Well, you might actually be listening, because if you're in the Senate, you're not doing anything. I was literally watching C-SPAN earlier today. There were 20 people just sitting in the Senate staring. Mostly pages or interns or whatever they are, but they were just sitting there staring at the wall. Why? Senate's not doing anything. They're not voting on anything. They were doing these hearings, but they weren't voting to keep the government open. So I was watching the Senate, and if anyone in the Senate is listening, or if anyone in the House of Representatives is listening, I think you need to have a hearing and you need to subpoena Joe Biden ASAP. Because Joe Biden, as we all know, is no longer of right mind. Joe Biden is no longer in a position where not that he ever really was for the last probably 15 years, in a position where he knows what he's talking about. And when you Joe Biden is easily stumpable. And I have to imagine that he's not getting any better. It's been almost a year, right? It's been almost a year since Joe Biden has been in the White House. And so I think he's probably even farther gone than we thought. So bring him in, start peppering him with questions. That old coot is going to sing like a canary. He's going to sing. He's going to forget where he is, forget who he was. He's going to start prattling off names and things. He's going to tell stories he shouldn't be telling. He's going to talk about meetings he had that he shouldn't be talking about. He's going to tell you about all kinds of information that he's been withholding because he knew it would get people in trouble. But now he's just too old and too out of office to care. Plus, let's be honest, just about everybody stabbed him in the back. Jake Tapper stabbed him in the back. Nancy Pelosi stabbed him in the back. Barack Obama stabbed him in the back. Chuck Schumer stabbed him in the back. Kamala Harris, in order to make some money off of her book, she just stabbed him in the back too. By the way, you know what I love best about the government shutdown? You don't hear about Kamala Harris's book anymore. The government shutdown, man, that poured a whole bunch of cold water on her book tour, didn't it? That 107 days didn't even last 107 minutes. Thank God for the government shutdown, because we don't have to hear Kamala Harris on TV anymore. Nobody cares. Everyone's just worried about the government reopening. But Joe Biden under a deposition, Joe Biden talking to the Senate, Joe Biden getting peppered with questions, he would sing like one of those old people in Portland.
This land is my land.
Look, they look like Joe Biden. Joe Biden's probably in there. See, I mean, oh, isn't that him in the back in the blue? That's him right there, isn't it? Isn't that Joe Biden? I don't know. This land was made for... There's Jill. Jill's got the Ukrainian flag. Oh, how the mighty have fallen, isn't it? He's going to sing like one of those old people from Portland. Hey, listen, President Donald Trump, by the way, is, speaking of communists, or are we speaking about communists? You know what? I don't care. Let's talk about communists, shall we? Speaking of communists, President Donald Trump is, as we speak, entertaining or meeting with or having some kind of working, I guess they call it a working meeting with Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Communist Canada. And Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Communist Canada, has done a lot of things lately that Donald Trump is not happy about. So they had a press conference, and I missed it because, we were doing the show, but there are some... Let's go back and watch some of the highlights together. This is President Donald Trump and Mark Carney, who is the Prime Minister of Canada. And listen to this. This is the two of them in the Oval Office earlier today.
And I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
He's whipping out. It's great. Donald Trump's whipping out the old 51st state jokes. It just goes to show it doesn't matter who the prime minister is. Nobody respects the Prime Minister of Canada. Nobody respects. Donald Trump's bringing it back. He's playing the hits. It worked so well with Trudeau. He's like, you know what? Now that Mark Carney's here, let's get back to it. Let's get back to the annexation of Canada.
And I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
That wasn't where I was going.
That wasn't where I was going. Yeah, well, Alberta's going there. Alberta, by the way, think about this. Alberta hates this guy so much. This is the Prime Minister of Canada. They hate what he's doing to their country. They hate what he's doing to their oil, that they are willing to remove themselves, secede from Canada. And one of the things that they need in order to secede is international recognition of their independence. And guess who said, no problem. I'll recognize you, Alberta. It's the Donald Trump White House. And he did that strategically for a couple of reasons. Number one, it really infuriates Mark Carney. And number two, they have a lot of oil in Alberta, like a lot. Edmonton is in Alberta. And do you know what Edmonton's hockey team is called? The Oilers. You know why? Because they got a lot of oil in Alberta.
It's an honor to have the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who I have made very popular. He's an extremely popular Prime Minister. And I'm very honored to do it because I liked him. Right from the beginning, I've liked him, and we've had a good relationship. We have some natural conflict, but we will probably work that out. But we've had a very strong relationship, and your hosting of the various countries that showed up, that was a beautiful job you did, and I appreciate it very much. We're going to be talking about trade. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things. We'll certainly be talking about Gaza. We're in very serious negotiations to, I guess you could say, depending on the way you count, 3,000 years. You could say 500 years. You could say, but it's been raging for a long time. And I think there's a possibility that we could have peace in the Middle East. It's something even beyond the Gaza situation. We want a release of the hostages immediately, etc. And so our team is over there now. Another team just left, and other countries, literally every country in the world has supported the plan.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't, actually, not that I've seen. But there's a real chance that we could do something, so you may have some questions on that later. But in the meantime, we'll spend some time and we'll make some deals and we'll do some things that are good for both of our countries. And Mark, it's an honor to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, by the way, Mark Carney is one of the clowns that decided he would recognize Palestinian statehood. And he would say, we recognize, there were a bunch of countries at the UN General Assembly that said, we're going to recognize the Palestinian state. France led that charge. And of course, Canada, they're not leaders, they're followers. So of course they followed suit. And now France is collapsing. And Canada is about to split in two because Alberta wants out. And listen, if Alberta's because Alberta's got a lot of, Calgary's in Alberta, Edmonton's in Alberta, there's millions of people in Alberta, and all the oil's in Alberta. When you look at the provinces, and I know a lot of people don't know about Canadian history or geopolitics. Also, I know a lot of people just don't care what happens in Canada, in the United States is hat. But I will say this. It gets really interesting when you look at the individual provinces, because you have provinces like, for example, you've got Ontario, one of the biggest and richest, of course. You've got, that's where Toronto is, and Ottawa, the capital. Then you've got Quebec, where Montreal and, well, Quebec are, and all the French people, and they're super snotty. But then you've got Alberta, and, maybe Vancouver, Alberta, they're tied for, I guess, third. I'd have to really check into it. But Alberta is a powerhouse, very conservative, lots of farmland, and, of course, lots of oil. And they hate commies. They hate Mark Carney. They hate the government. They hate all this. They hate all this communal crap. They hate all this state-run everything. They want out. They would love to be either their own entity or part of the United States of America. And we would love to have them, because listen, you don't want all of Canada. All of Canada is hard. You want to segment it. Donald Trump saying Canada is the 51st state. It was great and it was fun, and Trudeau hated it and people hated it. And so Trudeau got ousted, and now Mark Carney's here. But we don't really want the whole thing. We just want the good pieces. We just want the good parts. They can keep Quebec. No, don't nobody want Quebec. Keep Quebec. Give us Alberta, and then we'll take Saskatchewan and Manitoba as well, because why not? You like a threesome. Threesome? That's Jeffrey Toobin really threw me off today. Anyway, here's President Donald Trump talking about the shutdown.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way. Okay? Thank you.
Wow, look at that. Sounds like a threat to me. There's some people that deserve to be taken care of, and there's some people that don't, and we'll take care of them in a different way. So if you're one of the people that deserves to be taken care of, you're going to get your back pay. You're going to get your money. We're not trying to screw Americans out of what's rightfully theirs. We're not J.B. Pritzker. Speaking of which, Donald Trump was also asked about what's going on in Chicago and potentially using the Insurrection Act to save the Americans in Chicago.
Mr. President, can we talk about Portland for a second? Are you planning to invoke the Insurrection Act? And that would be, a very long-standing law that's been on the books.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know. If you look at Chicago, Chicago's a great city where there's a lot of crime. And if the governor can't do the job, we'll do the job. It's all very simple. They probably had 50 murders in Chicago over the last 5, 6, 7 months. Many people were shot. And then the governor gets up and he says, well, we can handle it. They can't handle it. They don't know what they're doing. The mayor is grossly incompetent. He's at a 4% approval rating in Chicago. He's at a 4%, lowest approval rating, lower than even de Blasio had, which is hard to believe in New York. I thought de Blasio would always maintain that record, but the Chicago guy is even lower. So I think that we want safe cities. If you look at D.C., you would right now, Mark, you could go out, take your family out to dinner, you could walk right down the middle of the street. There is no crime in D.C. When I got here, this place was a raging hellhole where people would come from Canada, people would come from other places and end up getting shot. Nobody's being shot. The National Guard's been unbelievable. I mean, they are strong, tough guys. You know,
a raging hellhole. I love that. Mark Carney, by the way, look at these. I'd like you to just take a look at this. Take a look at this faction here. On one side, you have President Donald Trump on the right, sitting very staunch and strong and stoic. Next to him, you have J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Susie Wiles, all strong, all stoic, all very relaxed, all cool, all knowing they're in control. And then on the other side, you have Mark Carney, who looks totally nervous. Like he thinks he doesn't know what's going to happen. He thinks maybe if he says something wrong, a trapdoor is going to open up, he's going to fall through, and he's never going to see his family again. And then you've got these other three weasels on the couch next to him. They all have no idea what's happening. They're totally uncomfortable. They don't like being here. They don't approve of anything that Donald Trump has ever said because they're liberals. When you are a Canadian liberal, you're basically a communist. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Marco, and Susie Wiles, these are about as capitalist a group of people as you can get. And we all know that those two groups despise each other. So it's really interesting and kind of fun to see. There's a question about tariffs, which I imagine should be kind of interesting because, well, there's a lot of tariffs on Canada at the moment. Let's listen into this.
Look, we're the king of being screwed by tariffs, just so you understand. And I'm not talking about with Canada. I'm talking about with countries all over the world. When you look at Europe, when you look at China, when you look at all of the almost every country charged the U.S., we didn't charge them. Because we were led by stupid people in many cases. Stupid people. They took advantage of our country. They're not taking advantage of us anymore. You know, if you looked at European Union, they're all my friends. I don't blame them. I blame our presidents. I blame our past presidents and, you know, business leaders. But we are the king of countries that have been taken advantage of for many, many years. We've been paying trillions and trillions of dollars and receiving nothing at all. As an example, prior to the deal with Europe, where they pay a lot of money, but they're happy and I'm happy. The deal was good. It's a fair deal, but it wasn't fair. You couldn't put a car into Europe. You couldn't sell your agriculture into Europe. You couldn't do anything. And now we have it so that it's open. We charge them tariffs. We didn't charge them tariffs a car. They charge us tremendous. I said to Angela Merkel once, I said, how many cars have gone to Germany from the United States? And she said, well, I don't believe any. And I said, you're right. You're right. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. And they're paying a fair amount. It's just a fair amount. It's not, I could ask for much more. It's a fair amount. But the United States now is using the same thing that they've used on us. And I just can't believe it's taken presidents so long to do this.
Yeah, and then he's blaming, and again, and that, look, it's a common line, and he does it, you know, he's saying, I don't blame Canada for taking advantage of us. I don't blame Mexico. I don't blame our European allies. Sure, they took advantage of us, but it was their job. Their job is to get the best deal they can for their country. Angela Merkel, her job was to keep American automobiles out of Germany. Why? Well, because if you've got American autos coming into Deutschland, then people aren't going to be buying as many Mercedes-Benzes and BMWs and Audis and Volkswagens and all those other cars. So if you go to Germany, and I remember the last time I went to Germany, it was my birthday. It was a few years ago. This was like, maybe it was actually a lot of years ago. I went to Germany and I got off the plane and where was I? Frankfurt or Munich or one of those places. And I went to go get an Uber and it said black Mercedes-Benz 3 Series. And I thought to myself, well, that's a fancy Uber, until I walked out and I realized everybody in Germany drives a black Mercedes-Benz 3 Series. Why? Because there's no American cars. They're all German. Donald Trump's going to put it into that. He's asking about the shutdown again.
Well, they're the ones that started it. They're the ones that have it. And it's almost like a kamikaze attack by them. You want to know the truth? This is like a kamikaze attack. They almost, you know, they have nothing to lose. They've lost the elections. They've lost the presidential election in a landslide. I saw the other day where Kamala said, this was a very close election. This was one of the biggest sweeps that anybody's ever had. Won the popular vote by millions, won the Electoral College by a massive amount. They said, if I got 270, that would be great. But I got, I think, 312 or 315, and they got 220. So, you know, we won that. But we won counties. The big thing is counties. So out of all of the counties, thousands and thousands, we got 2,500. They got 525. It was a landslide. And we listened, oh, yes, it was close. It was one of the greatest victories ever. And it was a mandate to do what we're doing.
A kamikaze attack. That's what he's saying. Look, the Democrats, they have nothing left to lose. So they're just flying their fighter planes into the deck of the ship. The only problem is with kamikaze attacks, you don't see these people on the news later. You don't see them at all. Like when a kamikaze pilot attacks, that's it. They don't do anything else. We're going to see these people all. We're going to see these people all later on the news. Hold on. This is a clip. This is done. Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia. Well, I have to play this one.
I'll tell you what. I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their names before, and they're claiming to be leader. The Democrats have no leader. They remind me of Somalia. Okay? You know? And I met the president of Somalia. I told him about the problem he's got. I said, you have somebody from Somalia who's telling us how to run our country. She's from Somalia. He said, would you like to take her back? He said, no, I don't want her. Okay, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think we know who you're. Somalia. He's like, the Democrats have no leader. He's getting calls from Democrats, doesn't even know who they are, claiming to lead the Democrats. Here we are again. Here's more on all the questions are about the shutdown, by the way.
They're all Democrat delays. There are delays at the airport. That's standard. And again, this is something that every day we put forth a bill. It's just a continuation. It's a very simple thing to sign and very simple to do. And I really think that these are people that I think they have nothing to lose. They have a party that's out of control. They have no leader. Nobody knows who the leader is. I look at people with very low IQs like Crockett, this woman Crockett. I never met her, but she's a low IQ individual. I look at AOC talking about how if they want to negotiate, they can come to my office. She's not in that position to do that.
Yeah.
And who the hell is she to say that? And then I watch Nancy Pelosi not knowing what to do. I watch their leadership. Look, Schumer is petrified of primary because he's not going to win probably against anybody in a primary. You know, Schumer did the right thing, but he handled it badly originally a year ago. He did probably the right thing, but he handled it badly. I think Schumer's incapable of making a deal. They are a mess. They're a party that has no leadership. They have, and they have no policy. You know, I think we have great leadership, but we also have great policy. We have strong borders. We have no men and women's sports. Basic things. We're not going to take your child away and change the sex of your child. We're not going to do things like that. What they're doing to the country is so incredible. And they got away with it with all their woke crap, and now it's stopped. And we have a country that's based on common sense and strength and intelligence.
By the way, Donald Trump, he brings up an amazing point here. And this is, again, you know, people are saying, well, the Republicans have to come to the table. And Chuck Schumer's out there saying, no, we're not going to give in. And the votes keep coming and the votes keep passing. And there's literally nobody voting anything differently. The government continues to be shut down. The Schumer shutdown continues. But Donald Trump brings up a great point. He goes, look, they have no leadership. They have literally no leadership. And if you have no leadership, well, then of course you're going to have chaos and division. Of course this is going to happen. You've got AOC claiming that she runs Senate Democrats. You've got Chuck Schumer, who's technically the leader of the Senate Democrats. You've got Hakeem Jeffries, who's just hanging around there in his sombrero for some reason. Nobody really knows what his purpose in life is. You've got Nancy Pelosi, who's shocked and appalled every time she hears that some other Democrat thinks they're in charge. And then you've got Jasmine Crockett and Ilhan Omar and the rest of these squad members who are running around balking like they know what's going on. There is no leadership in the Democrat Party. And all the while, there are Democrats that need the government to reopen because they need their constituents to get paid, because they need those people to vote for them, because they have elections coming up in 2026. And they don't want to lose them, but they don't have any leadership. And maybe that's why it's taking so long. Donald Trump, how do you negotiate with a party when you don't know who's in charge? How do you sit down and negotiate with the Democrats when they don't have anybody leading them? It's really an interesting point that he's making here. And I know he's being kind of facetious, and I know that he's being, I know that he's also being a little having some fun at their expense. But the other thing is that he's right about a lot of these things. Here's a question about a deal with, here's a Canadian reporter asking President Donald Trump about some kind of tariff deal.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man too.
What a dumb question. Canadians are so stupid, aren't they? If he's a great man, eh? And you want to do a deal with him, why wouldn't you do a deal with him if he's a great man, eh? Because he's a great man trying to make a good deal for himself and trying to screw me. I don't know why they let these people into the White House. And I know. I was born. Here's the thing. People have called me a self-hating Canadian. I'm not a self-hating Canadian because I'm no longer Canadian. I will say this though: until you have been brought out or have escaped the lunacy, and that's loony, LOONY, because that's the name of their dollar, of what's going on north of the border, you really don't understand. You really don't understand just how bad things can be until you've lived there and experienced it and talked to people who are from there. It's really like a bizarro world. Real quick, let's go. Oh, here's Donald Trump talking about waste that he's going to cut out of the government thanks to the Democrat shutdown.
Have you identified programs to eliminate under this shutdown?
Oh, sure.
Which ones?
We have a lot. I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon. But we have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say, but because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they've handed it, on a silver platter. And Russell Vogt, he's a serious person, very serious person, and he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things. And this is something that was handed to us by, I assume, Schumer. I just don't know if Schumer has any power anymore. I look at your leadership. I don't know who to speak to. I'll tell you what. I'm getting calls from Democrats wanting to meet. I never even heard their
names. Yeah, and they're all claiming to be the leader. So we're back to that. But it's another great point. I hope it's not just. Here's the thing. I hope this is not just an empty threat. I hope this is not just Donald Trump, with hyperbole. Billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. They've handed it to us on a silver platter. Great. Then do it. Off with their heads. Let's do this. Let's do this thing. They voted now, 5 times? Yesterday was the 5th vote, I think. 5 times they voted not to reopen the government. If there is a vote later today, they'll probably vote not to reopen the government. So if they're not going to vote, then get Russ vote to kill these programs. Get Russ vote. If they're not going to vote, then we need our vote to shut down the waste, fraud, and abuse. It's been handed to you on a silver platter. I just hope this isn't, just an exciting talking point or an empty threat. I really want it to happen. And I think that the sooner it happens, I think the easier it'll be to get the Democrats to the table, because you need to, it's like, I don't want to use a graphic metaphor because I've never actually been in the mob, but I'll use, maybe like Pulp Fiction. Remember in Pulp Fiction when they went, his spoiler alert, by the way, if you've never seen it, but the movie's like 30 years old, so hopefully you've seen it. When they walk in, when Vincent Vega and Jules walk into the little crappy apartment and the 3 kids are there, and he shoots the one kid, flock of seagulls. Hey, flock of seagulls, why don't you tell my man Vince where you got the stuff hit at? And then he shoots him. It gets the other guys in line. So I feel like if you start cutting programs, the rest of the Democrats are going to be like, uh-oh, he's serious. He's serious. And they're going to jump in. They're going to jump into action, and they're going to start voting the way that they need to vote, and they're going to open up the government. And Donald Trump, you know what he should do? He should have Russ Vogt walk out in a big afro with a big mustache and go, "And you'll know my name is the Lord when I strike my vengeance upon thee." That would be classic. That's how I would do it if I were Russ Vogt. But I digress.
How many permanent jobs are you talking about?
Well, I can tell you. I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on. If this keeps going on, it'll be substantial, and a lot of those jobs will never come back. But you're going to have a lot closer to a balanced budget, actually.
Look at that. You're going to lose government jobs, but you're going to have a balanced budget. So there you go. That's a little tidbit of what's been going on with President Donald Trump and Mark Carney. And I will say this, it is, it's so fun. It's so fun to watch that kind of thing because Donald Trump gives you access to the White House and to the inner workings of government like no one else has in history. And that's one of the reasons why he's such a powerful leader, a strong leader, a popular leader. And that's why the Democrats lose, because Donald Trump has a big microphone and he knows how to use it. Donald Trump has a message and a mission, and he continues to repeat it over and over and over again. And that's how he gets people to join his Team Trump. That's how he gets people on board with making America great again. It's something that people have been doing, by the way, for centuries. It's nothing new. It's something I do every single day, and it's something that you can do too. And tonight's the night. Tonight is the night. Podcast Profits Live. It happens tonight at 8 p.m. If you're not doing anything at 8 p.m. and you've ever thought, and again, you don't have to have a business. People are like, I don't want a podcast. Okay, maybe you don't want a podcast, but you need one. If you've ever wanted to start a business, if you've ever wanted to start an organization, if you have a charity that you work for and you raise money for, if you just want to spread the word, the good news, the gospel, or if you have stories you want to tell about the United States, if you're a comedian and you want to get more people to your show, I don't care if you're a waiter and you're trying to get bigger tips. Whoever you are, whatever you do, you can benefit from the same things that I benefit from, that Donald Trump benefits from, that Charlie Kirk benefited from, and that is speaking your message out loud and putting it on a platform where more and more people can hear you. That's how you grow. That's how you reach your goals. That's how you become financially secure. And that's how you secure your place in history. That's how you build a legacy. in this day and age by creating content and publishing it for a specific audience, by sharing and spreading your message. And that's what this event tonight teaches you how to do. Also, how to profit from it. We'll teach you how to launch a money-making podcast in just 1 hour without a studio, without tech skills or a huge online following. It's 5 hours from now. It's 5 hours, 39 minutes, and 56 seconds away. So at 8 o'clock p.m., if you ain't doing nothing, join me for Podcast Profits Live. The link is podcastprofitspro.com. podcastprofitspro.com. Go there to register. If you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, there's a link in the description. You can just click the link in the description. That'll take you right there. You can register and then you can join us tonight. It's so much fun. Now, keep in mind, it's not a podcast. It's not me talking about politics for another hour. It's me giving you the behind the scenes, how I build my business, how I run my empire, how we market these podcasts, and how we turn our information not just into something that is informative and inspirational, but also that is lucrative. Because, you know, you got to eat. It's fun to talk about politics every day. It's fun to talk about President Donald Trump. It's fun to make fun of Democrats. It's fun to, you know, ridicule the left-wing lunatics in Portland with their ukuleles.
This land is my land.
Yes, that's all a blast, but at the same time, we got to eat. There's bills to pay. So you need to make sure that you are creating your message, distributing your message, and also making sure that you're doing it in a fiscally responsible way and making some money on the back end. Podcastprofitspro.com, 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. We hope to see you there. In the meantime, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Please make sure you're subscribed to this podcast and this platform. Set those notifications too so that you get notified every time we go live, which is a lot. I know. There's a lot of Marquet out there, but we hope you join us every single time you get that notification. Thank you so much for being here. Keep coming back, because we don't know when this government's going to reopen and if it's going to reopen. We don't know what's going to happen with the Democrats. We don't know what's going to happen with the election, but we're going to be here every single day, educating you and entertaining you and inspiring you and making sure you know that it's us against them and that we're good and they're not. And that we need more of us and less of them. And we need us to be strong and ready and sharp and skilled and able to fight at any time, anywhere, any place, so that we can save the Republic. All right. Now, yesterday we had a little problem with our after party. So it was an issue with one of our. I'll get into it I'll tell you what happened in the after party. But today we're going to have an after party. So if you'd like to join us for the after party, go to Katriots.com right now. Katriots.com. The after party live from Mar-a-Lago starts in 5 minutes.